Before all that, folks, my first guest tonight made the move from Cahersiveen to CNN almost a decade ago, and since then, he's been trying to make sense of American politics for his viewers around the world. God love him this week. In a world turned upside down, tonight we are delighted to get some sense from our favourite Kerry man in New York. And unlike guests in the White House, you'll be pleased to know that tonight we'll actually be letting him speak. Would you please welcome home Donie O'Sullivan! There you go.
How are you doing?
All good, Donie. Welcome to the show. You're back. You're straight off the plane, I believe.
Yeah. Got in early this morning, so all very quiet, uneventful, nothing happening over in America, nothing going on, all good.
OK, look, we're just going to get into it, Donie. I mean, over there looks like bananas in pyjamas at the minute. You have a ringside seat. What's it actually like?
It's relentless, I think, is probably the best word to describe it. You know, too many things happen every day. And that, in part, I think, is by design, right? I mean, Steve Bannon, other Irish-American who used to work for Trump, made the point before where he's like, just throw so much BS at the wall every day, do so much. You can distract journalists, you can distract the public, and they'll get upset, worked up about one thing while you're doing 4 or 5 other things over here. So that's what's happening every day now. OK, and your job is to kind of just sort of dodge the BS and see what's kind of real and what's not. You've been doing it for 10 years. You've been interviewing ordinary Americans out there. What do they make of all of this? Well, look, I mean, half the country is terrified and is appalled. But half the country this is exactly what they voted for, you know? They very much view the system in America as broken. I mean, I think people on both sides of the political divide there view things as broken. And so they sort of see Trump as this wrecking ball, Elon Musk with his chainsaw coming in and saying, well, the place is so messed up. Oh, there he is. The place is so the place is so messed up already. Well, you know, it can't get any worse. So let's try break this and make it get better. But look, I mean, that's all well and fine until I think we start to, you know, it's only been, I think, 6 weeks he's been in.
Wow, it's only been 6 weeks, OK.
I've aged some. The Botox and RT is very great backstage. I took some of your stash. No.
That's good. You might need to give me some back.
But look, I think we're really going to, I guess, find out with all these cuts that are happening in so many, you know, once people start seeing this, whether it's in price of at supermarkets, which they
price of eggs.
Yeah,
Donald Trump very concerned with the price of eggs.
Big
apparently.
on price of eggs. Yeah,
yes.
big egg eater. No, but I do think, like, in terms of people getting, whether it's welfare checks or whether it's getting public health services, particularly for veterans who rely on public health services in the US, you know, as that starts to untangle, I think in the coming months, that's where we'll see whether what he's doing, if it's worth, you know, if it's a total mess or if things are going to work out. OK. Speaking of working out, Micheál Martin is on his way there next week. God love him.
God.
Poor Micheál. I think, like last time, I think he got COVID when he wanted to meet Biden, and now he's got off to meet Trump.
Are you suggesting that he maybe should...
maybe have a sick day?
Yeah.
I would say, you know, I think he should... I thought Prime Minister Keir Starmer did very well the other week when he came in and just flattered Trump. I mean, like all of us, Trump is not immune to flattery, particularly likes it. And Starmer came in, had a handwritten letter, I think, from the King, saying this is a huge deal, a second state visit. So
and Micheál's turning up with shamrock, which is kind of the diplomatic equivalent of flowers from the all-night garage.
It has to be the biggest bowl, the biggest, most beautiful bowl.
Okay.
You know, biggest,
tremendous
bigger than
bowl,
any,
a great bowl,
a huge bowl. So I think that's where he's got to go with it. But I mean, you know, on a more serious note, I guess, like what we saw last Friday with Zelensky was Trump does this thing, normally when you see the Taoiseach go into the Oval Office, you see a minute or two, they let the cameras in, let the press in, get some footage, and then walk out. And that's when they have then they negotiate and talk.
He lets it roll.
Yeah. I mean, Trump is producing a television show every day. We are living in the Trump show in the US.
But in that show, I mean, there's really serious stuff happening. And Micheál Martin has said that he's going to give Ireland's position on Gaza and Ukraine. How do you think that's going to go down?
Well, probably not particularly well. I mean, I think the way this Oval Office sort of TV production works is it is a bit of a ticking time bomb, right? Because Zelensky, I'm sure everybody saw the clips last week, 7 or 8 minutes of where they're just basically berating him. But they had a conversation for about 30 minutes, I think, before that, as the cameras were rolling. And things were kind of going okay. It was really when Vance butted in that things really went off the rails. So I think the longer they're in front of the cameras, the more potential there is for things to go off the rails. But I mean, it is Trump that is calling those shots. So I don't know if Micheál will be able to.
Maybe Micheál needs to keep things tight. Give us a tight 3 minutes and get out of there.
Yeah, but I mean, look, obviously we saw, and I spoke to, I mean, one thing that has been a huge change in the United States, particularly among younger voters, is their views on Israel-Gaza and on that conflict. Younger voters, particularly who are getting more of their information less from mainstream news outlets and more from social media and elsewhere online from independent news, have far more sympathy for Palestinians than older Americans. And that's something, we have seen that is resonating with younger voters in the US. But clearly Trump, I mean, we saw the video Trump posted of Trump Hotel Gaza and things like that. I think having that conversation, that dialogue out in public in the Oval Office may not lead to great results. Okay,
you're talking there about Trump and Gaza and condos and all this ridiculous stuff. I mean, he likes a deal. What do you think he's looking for from Ireland?
Well, I was talking to my colleague Caitlin Collins, who's our chief White House correspondent, and look, a lot of times Trump does go in with a strategy, but sometimes it's sort of freewheeling, and sometimes it depends on who he spoke to yesterday or who he spoke to or what mood he's in. So, I'm far from me to advise the Taoiseach on what to bring. I mean, I would say, just back to the flattery point, if it's not a bowl of shamrocks, name something after Trump. Obama has the Obama Plaza here. A petrol, maybe give him a shopping centre, something larger than.
I see where you're going with this. Yeah, so Ireland makes quite a lot of Viagra and Botox, maybe something like that. Yeah.
Botox,
okay.
Yeah. For those playing along at home, Botox coming up twice. The big guy.
There you go. We were looking at Elon Musk there, and he banned you at one point.
He did.
From Twitter. Yeah. How powerful is he in US politics?
He's very powerful with his chainsaw. He banned a few of us. He's obviously, he described himself as a free speech absolutist. So he banned a bunch of journalists a few years ago, including myself,
from speaking freely.
When we were just reporting on, there's an app basically that tracks his private jet's location, and he doesn't like talking about that. So he banned. Actually, he emailed me because, I was in that surreal situation of covering a story about myself. In that regard, I would normally be the person going to Twitter or X to get a comment. So I emailed, what's your comment on banning these journalists? And that Irish guy. And he had fired everyone, as he's doing now when he came in to take over Twitter. He fired all his comms team. So I was surprised I actually got a direct reply from the world's richest man to my email. And it was just one line. He said, "You can quote me on this. Donie is a liar." However, Donie that doesn't show up in autocorrect, not in Ireland or in the US either, as it comes up as donor, like a donor kebab. So it said donor is a liar. So I quoted him on that.
Brilliant, brilliant. I know you were also in Greenland recently, a place that Donald Trump would like to make part of America. What do they make of him there?
Yeah, casual trip to Greenland in January. It's real. Look, I mean, the elections are actually coming up in Greenland on Tuesday. I'm sure it's on everybody's calendar. But no, Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark. And like all colonial powers, there's a dark history there. Everybody I met, pretty much everybody I met in Greenland wants to be independent. But no one, they want to be independent of Denmark, but they also realize they're a very small population, 57,000 people. They realize that they have to have some deal with a big power, whether it's the EU, whether it's Canada, whether it's the US. No one I met, including Trump's biggest supporters there. In fact, there's one guy there named Jürgen. I think he's a former bricklayer. He's just Trump's biggest fan. In fact, they call him Trump's son. In Greenland. Trump was quite prolific, so I don't know if he made it to Greenland, but nobody, not even he, wants to be part of the 51st state of the United States. They said, maybe some sort of agreement. So it's one of these crazy things with Trump, where Greenland started off, everybody thought it was a joke, right? And then he keeps bringing it up, and then
you say it
it's more serious, and then you actually see, whoa. So
and we're talking about it tonight. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And obviously, he's joking the same way about Canada, which is frankly scary to the people of Canada. But, I think this sort of goes back to this point where, we can laugh. I mean, if you don't laugh at some of this, we'll be crying all the time in the US.
I was going to ask you that, but what does the family in Kerry make of what you're
my
covering?
Poor mom and dad are here somewhere tonight.
Noreen and Donald, there they are. Give us a wave. There you go. You're on the Late Show.
My dad had a full head of hair before I moved to the US. Look, I mean, it's obviously it's extraordinary times. It's an incredible time to be a journalist there and covering all of this and having a front seat to this. But as I say, particularly you can see what happened with Zelensky last week, the things Trump is saying about Gaza, the way he's talking about gutting, domestically, the Department of Education and all these other protections, civil rights protections for minorities and others in the US. Serious, profound effects, not to mention, of course, how, pushing, potentially ignoring the judiciary, steamrolling Congress. So, it could be far more bleak conversation, I guess, we're having in 6 months' time. But I think so many people, so many of my friends in the US and Irish friends I have living in New York kind of swore who had lived through Trump the first time, said, well, we're ignoring it this time. We're just going to try and block it out, not watch the news. But he makes that impossible. He makes it impossible, yeah.
Well, look, it is going to run and run. There will be plenty more chapters in the Donald Trump show. Look, it's lovely having you back home. Continued success with CNN. Come back and see us anytime.
Thanks, Patrick.
All
Cheers.
right, Donie.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Brilliant. Donie is working on the next installment of his Emmy-nominated Misinformation investigation that will premiere across CNN and all his Emmy-nominated.
Which means Emmy losing.
Well, you say that. We'll cut that out. We'll cut that out. Emmy-nominated. And you can get that on all your CNN platforms in April. Now,